just how bad she's gotten. So they're saying it could be a matter of time now. Alright, like 42 seconds later, I'm gonna speak finally. Anyway. Yeah. I got the news today when I was at jam session. There was actually a text from Steph. His mom and dad were at a driver safety meeting. Like a safe driving thing. And we had just started our jam session. We were just about to start. And I got a ping notification. And I saw this. Anyway, just more about that D5 plan. Again, if you want to read this, just pause. We all knew it was coming, though, still. Wasn't a total shock. But still. You know, I always remember the house that she had. The farmhouse. You know, about this, signs. What I wish ours had, that Minneapolis and St. Paul have, some of them, is a sign in the middle of the bridge that tells you what street you're on, and then what street's on either side, or cross streets, as fire departments would say. Something like this. So on Friday we'll be heading down for the viewing, visitation and stuff, and then of course Saturday the funeral. Probably come back then. After that, we'll see. Again, you want to read, just pause. Let's see. Yeah, that never happened. This Michael's restaurant across the alley, even though technically it did with the Galleria. And that, yeah, because that's the, yeah, that's the old Woolworths, and that's the Massey building, as you can see. So that'd be that bridge that they were talking about. Anyway, yeah, I remember her house. Her basement actually would have the biggest drain of them all, because it was a dirt floor, and in a way, you know, ground is a drain. And then, like in the kitchen, she had a full brick wall, so it was actually like kind of like a wallpaper, but it was, you know, 3D sort of brick. But you could tell, like when you would tap it. I don't have one, but you tap it with your knuckle, we kind of go, kind of have that type of sound. And then the bathroom that was off the kitchen had a clawfoot tub. And for the fan people, she had a K223. Remember, I helped her clean it once. She also had a cat named Sam. And its meow is similar to one of these stock cat meows. Anyway. So yeah, like I said, we're going down Friday. Cold Friday. It's going to be like 9 below. But we'll be in the cold. I mean, not cold. We'll be in a nice warm SUV. Steph's going to drive us down there. And like she did for our cemetery thing. Well, change of plans. Due to the cold, like I said, we're actually not going to go to the funeral. Or the visitation. Anyway. Yeah, that's the mall. No. Billy, this is right there. Now, a ton about this over here, the Skyway system that would hook onto the Mayo Clinic medical complex. Well, that's never happened, except this stacked Skyway system that connects the Ghana building to the hospital, Methodist Hospital. There's one on 7 where this like inline fan sounds like an old mechanical fire alarm. Like, I think it was up. But that was like probably over 10 years ago I was in that area, so I'm not sure if it does anymore. Yeah, like I said, this is a stacked Skyway system. One that I don't think even Minneapolis has. I've seen a building that has like, 2 above each other, but not stacked like this. I also thought it'd be interesting, but kind of redundant, like to have an escalator in between the skyways. So like if it was a longer skyway, and like the buildings, the elevators were distant or, far away from the skyway connection, maybe you'd have an escalator that would be easier to get to, like anything that is closer to the connection. Kind of like this work in progress here. That'd be the lower skyway, and then I haven't even done the upper yet. All right, let's go back to relaxing music here. And as you can see, this is Minneapolis. Walking tours cassette tapes. Doubt they have that anymore. Hill of Minnesota, 7th, South 7th, and City Center. I know that building's still around. I personally got a 3-hour tours.
A 3-hour tour.
At 1:30 on Saturdays. Well, it looks like they still do the Skyway system tours. Somewhat. It's like they've expanded like city areas too. Mayo Clinic does that. Or did, maybe. You'd have a tour of the facilities, not obviously the entire thing, but, certain areas like Ghana building, Mail building, certain pieces of artwork. And then they'd have a dedicated art tour too. It was interesting. And then speaking of this, there's a really good Skyway tour from Walking Minnesota on YouTube where he shows the Skyway system. Not the whole system, but a lot of it. And then there's one bridge where this lady said, yeah. Like that. She sounds exactly like my mom. Oh, my mom would say, yeah, once in a while. In fact, one time, because I like to watch it during lunch, when I eat lunch. And one time my house cleaner was here, and she says, is that your mom? It sounds just like her. And I said, well, unless she was in the Minneapolis Skyway system, talking to a guy either about borscht or abortion, no. Then also relating to the Skyway system up there there's this book series I like from John Sanford, the Prey series, and up to the book Golden Prey. The main character, Lucas Davenport, worked for the Minnesota BCA, so his office was in the government center there, and Skyway connected. He actually mentioned the Skyway several books. Yeah, they investigate crimes in the area. Now, a scenario I came up with for Lucas to possibly investigate, up until that Golden Prey book, that is, was here in downtown Rochester, right here at the ramp. So the scenario would be that the target would park here and then get off work really early in the morning, like midnight, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, and then his murderer, if you will, would park here too. Like previous nights, he had just stalked the guy, learned his patterns and stuff. But first of all, he'd have to prepare, because he'd have to take out that camera there. And then there's a lock on this gate. So anyway, it would go down like this. He'd park right by the guy. And then when the guy came close to his car, he'd spring into action. He'd chloroform the guy and drag him over here. through the gate and all the way up here and dump him in that central hole there. And then run back down, get in his car, and zoom away. Another thing that'd be hard for him is, of course, being seen, because that building, or my building, ramp across the street, maybe even there, and people down here, and of course, if there's anyone else parked there. And then how the guy would be found, the victim would have been found, was a teenager would be piloting their drone and getting footage, and then he just happened to look down there and saw the body. So they called the feds, the BCA, and then Lucas would come down. All right, I'm retrying this. Stupid microphone wasn't on. It contains 2 elevators. First 3 floors, not really. The first 2 do. And then the subway, of course, because this is the Marriott now. Well, I faintly remember it being Rochester Plaza, so I'm not sure when it changed over. But that's changed a little bit, maybe? Well, changed a lot. Like that wasn't there. Huh? Unless this is a rendering. Oh yeah, illustration. The 101st Avenue building, which is this over here. I was mentioning that, but of course I had the microphone off. And Dad's probably down in Iowa right now, getting ready for the funeral. So I was saying, what? Thought we weren't going. Well, obviously I'm not, but Dad is, because late Thursday night, Jeff came up in the intention of to take Dad down there. And speaking of Jeff, I didn't even realize that until just now. When I did this earlier. Let's see, the Eagle Drug, Richard's Roost, Stevenson's. Those don't exist anymore, but Eagle Drug does somewhat. Well, this is an old scan. But that's where it is right there, the Eagle Drug. That's Eagle Grocery. The Eagle Drug's a nice place, even though they don't really have a pharmacy anymore. They have over-the-counter stuff. But it's a nice place. I get candy there, or cards. And yeah, sometimes over-the-counter stuff I've gotten there. Subway system, no, that never happened. Because I've mentioned before, I think it was last volume or this one, the subway only goes to this building on this side, and then it goes across on over here under the Wells Fargo and stuff, but doesn't connect here to the 100 building. So yeah, I guess that never happened. Maybe in some alternate universe. O&B Shoes, talked about that. Hedger Shop East, never heard of it. Ina Maze, Max Restaurant, VIP Shop, I think I recognize that. Linen Basket, no. Client's Luggage and Leather Goods. That could be what the L boutiques are now. Exquisite Leather and Luggage. They have 2 locations. And that Max isn't around anymore either. They closed a little bit after we moved here. It was right here where this Opa is. And that never even opened. They had all that signage there, but it never opened. Instead, it was a green and fresh chicken place, a chicken and salad. That lasted a little bit, closed. And the bookstore went in with it. It closed. Now it's a Mexican restaurant. We'll see how good that does. And then the El Boutiques, one of them's in here, and then the other is down there at the foot of the escalators. Some footage of it from my Marriott video. Not knowing why those doors were closed. So let's see what it is. Alright, let's see. It said popcorn machine in the subway. I don't think there isn't any more, so. Didn't mean to X out of that. Back to this, finally. It's like what I was showing earlier, way earlier. Internally lit signs. Nope. That never happened. Or maybe it did, and they replaced them. Let's see what this one's about. I expanded the years, so. What's that? Statuary lot. Yep, and it is. 2 stories tall, and there's a third one for like mechanical. No, actually, it's the tallest building in Rochester because it has so many stories. I know.
Ugh.
Former Kmart on 37th Street. And that's now Bowman Machinery. And part of it was the old Goodwill. We're talking about the library ramp. That's the fire station 1. Let's see. Midland Square. I think that changed. I think most of those have changed. But I don't recognize the Galaxy building, the Midland Bank building, the Gateway. Florida's kind of getting in the way. I'm not sure what that changed to. Well, here, let's look at this one. Western Center, Baker, DCF. Let's see, I'm looking. That's the northern section of Churchill Apartments there. I think that's where Milwaukee Minnesota started his tour of the system. Right there. Oh, right up there. Doy. Yeah. A lot of these buildings have changed names since then. I'll have to look at the video. Let's see. What's this one? Broadway Hall office building. What's that? I'm pretty sure that's this right here. 102 Financial Center, it's called. I think there's the Skyway that they're talking about, or they're showing. Let's see. Yeah. So you can see this part here that comes out this way. Then it doesn't come all the way across the street because that hasn't opened, or it hadn't opened yet. And the Broadway Plaza used to be Broadway Residences and Suites. I think I mentioned that before. Let's see if we can see that. Yeah, they're back to 2012. It's like by 2016 it changed Broadway Plaza. There used to be a convenience store in there called Plaza Place, but it closed a little bit after we moved here. Now it's just like a little showroom, not really a showroom, but kind of a display of like what the furniture in the rooms would be, because it's like an extended stay hotel, an apartment building. You've seen this one, of course, my fire video. Alarms too. Let's see. Radisson Hotel Center Place to the new city parking ramp on 2nd Street. That's this one right here. Actually, no, I'd be wrong, because the 2nd Street ramp is a lot older than 1988. A lot older. Like some of the, sadly, I don't think they're there anymore, but some of the fire extinguisher cabinets in there are really old, or were. But they just got done with remodeling it, so I think they have all new ones there. Another one on like the 3rd floor there where the Skyway bridge is new. Anyway, so I think it's this little guy right here, this little bridge, which is of course just down the alley there. And even though this is the 1st Street ramp, it is on 2nd Street there. Entrances are 101st Avenue building to, I think it's that little guy right there. Let's see. It's interesting how this kind of pivoted from, like, what businesses do I remember? Now it's the Skyway system. Yeah, that's the library, and then the parking ramp, that's the library ramp. Of course, you saw the fire alarm videos from there. It would have been interesting if it was a subway, because I think I mentioned that. The farthest the subway system goes is in here. Up here where the Wells Fargo is. And on this side, the farthest it goes is to here, which is, of course, the Illyris Tower. And I think there's like steam tunnels that go throughout the city, or not the city, but downtown area. But as far as pedestrian subways, let's restart this. And I don't think I remember that either. It's 92. Let's see, January 7th. No, I don't recognize that. And obviously those aren't around anymore. I think they just had them during this conference. But our hospital in Austin, they used to have those on the walls to lead you where you need to go. Like, I think there was a yellow one that led to the elevators to the patient floors. Red led to the ER. Green led to X-ray and radiology. And then blue went to the labs. You know, like blood work and stuff, urinalysis. And then, of course, if you're a Half-Life player, you know that Black Mesa had those all around. I mean,
the Sector C, so those are heavily influenced by NASA control rooms. Remember, and then there was just lots of hallways and people were getting lost, and I did the color stripes to help people follow them places.
Redoing this section again, or part of this section at least, because there's this high school in the cities that back in the 90s when we had that job skills transition program, remember when the fire alarm went off in the dorm for the fire drill? Anyway, one night we went there. I think it was like for a music jam session, or maybe someone took me there to see their musical instruments or something. But anyway, yeah, they had the colored stripes. But I can't remember like what led to what. I think blue might have led to the auditorium. Now, let's see. Is that still around? Or is that still here? Maybe they moved it. Because I can't remember hearing anything about it recently, unless the Civic Center doesn't really advertise it. Because here's the Civic Center's website. And this is getting long. There's another part to come, so that'll probably be the last part of this. Anyway, see, this shows you upcoming events. You can see a lot of basketball, a concert. See a lot of stuff, music. And other shows. So maybe they just don't advertise it on their site.